beginning a brand new series of a deep dive on individual Stardew Valley characters. So if you've ever wondered what a certain character loves to get for a gift or where they are on Tuesday at 11 o'clock, then this will be the perfect video for you. Today I'm going to be discussing Shane, but if you want to see someone else in the next video other than who I have planned, go ahead and comment them down below. And today's emoji of the day is going to be any sort of juice emoji. Without further ado, let's get right into it. First thing you need to know about Shane is his birthday. Shane was born on the 20th of spring in the canon lore, and based off of dialogue options, many players speculate that he's between the ages of 28 and 35, with most people, including myself, thinking that he's about 32-ish. As for his family, he lives with his Aunt Marnie and his goddaughter Jazz. Thanks to an early on update, he is one of the marriage-eligible candidates and normally dances with Emily at the flower dance if the player doesn't ask him to. Shane's loved gifts are beer, hot peppers of any quality, pepper poppers, and pizza, as well as the universal loved gifts, which I'll cover in a different video if you guys want. Shane's liked gifts are all the universal likes except for pickles, because apparently Shane doesn't care for those, which is honestly quite fair. All eggs except for void eggs, and all fruit except of course his beloved hot peppers. Shane feels fairly neutral about all of the universal neutrals, and all milk with no exceptions. I guess Shane eats his cereal dry then, as well as the strange bun which he gives the player the recipe for. Apparently he prefers frozen pizza though, according to Shane. Shane dislikes all the universal disliked gifts, big shock I know, as well as a few other things such as chanterelles, common mushrooms, daffodils, dandelions, ginger, hazelnuts, hollies, leeks, magma caps, morels, purple mushrooms, seaweed, snow yams, wild horseradishes, and winter roots. So basically, if you have a foraged goodie, don't give it to Shane unless you want him to dislike you, in which case the next section might be more helpful for you because it's all about hated gifts. He obviously hates all universal hates besides from seaweed and the strange bun, but he also hates pickles as mentioned earlier and quartz. If you have the movie theater unlocked, he loves to watch It Howls in the Rain and Wumpus. He likes Journey of the Prairie King, the motion picture. He also likes watching Mysterium and the Natural Wonders movie. If you want to watch The Brave Little Sapling, The Miracle at Cold Star Ranch, or the Zuzu City Express, maybe don't bring Shane with you because he dislikes those. As for snacks, he loves Hummus Snack Pack, Jojo Colas, Jojo Corn, nachos, personal pizza, and Stardew Sorbet. He dislikes apple slices, black licorice, cappuccino mousse cake, and kale smoothies, as well as the panzanella salad and the truffle popcorn. Anything else in the snacks category is labeled as a like. This next part contains some spoilers on how to trigger cutscenes, so if you want to skip this part and avoid them, go to the next section. I'm assuming that if you're still here, that you don't mind spoilers, so here goes. Shane has 10 unique heart events and 1 group 10 heart events. These heart events are triggered by you reaching 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8 hearts with Shane, as well as 10 and 14, respectively. The 7 and 14 heart events come in several parts, 3 to be exact, in each situation. For the first heart event, you need to enter Cindersap Forest between 8 p.m. and midnight to trigger the second heart event. After reaching 3 hearts with Shane, he will send you a recipe in the mail. He will also become slightly less rude to you during dialogues. After reaching 4 hearts with Shane, his dialogues with you will become more friendly, and you need to enter Marnie's Ranch at any time to unlock that cutscene. If you enter the Cindersap Forest between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. while it's storming or raining, then you will get the 6th heart event. After triggering the 6th heart event, you can trigger the 7th heart event by entering Marnie's Ranch while Shane is home. To trigger the second part of the 7th heart event, you will also need 2 hearts with Emily and Clint, and you will need to enter the town between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on a sunny day. The third part of the 7th heart event earns you a recipe in the mail from Shane. Enter Marnie's Ranch while Shane is home and trigger the 8 heart cutscene. This will not trigger unless the player has seen the follow-up visit from Shane after his 6 heart event. If you're dating or marrying Shane, then the 10 heart event triggers when you exit your house before 6:30 to initiate the event, then walk to the bus stop between 4 and 6 p.m. As for the 14 heart event, you need to enter town on a non-Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. For the next two parts, enter town any time over the next 2 days. Now, the rest of his schedule is going to be fairly detailed and thankfully spoiler-free. So if you guys skipped the previous section for spoilers, this section should be fairly spoiler-free. Spring 17th, if the bus service is restored, means that at 11 he will board the bus to Calico Desert to attend the Desert Festival. At 10 after 11, he will stand by the chef stand. At 12:30, he will board the bus back to the valley. So he's not there super often as a guest, but as a vendor, he will be at the Desert Festival from 10 after 11, where he boards the bus to Calico Desert, to 11:30 when he arrives at his booth, and 12 a.m. he leaves the booth and takes the bus back to the valley. So he's there for a little over 12 hours. This next part is if the community center is not restored and it's Monday through Friday. If it's 10 after 7, he'll be leaving Marnie's Ranch to head to his job at Joja Mart. At about 5 p.m., he leaves Joja Mart and heads for the Stardrop Saloon. At 10 after 11, he'll leave the Stardrop Saloon and head back to Marnie's Ranch. If the community center is restored and it's also happening to be raining, then at 9, he will leave his room and stand at the kitchen in Marnie's Ranch. At 11, he'll leave the kitchen and return to his room. At 12, he will leave his room and stand by the fireplace. At 2, he will leave Marnie's Ranch and head to the Stardrop Saloon. And at 11, of course, he heads home to Marnie's Ranch. For Saturday, at 9 a.m., he leaves his room and stands in the kitchen. At 12, he leaves the ranch and heads to Pierre's General Store. At 5, he leaves the general store and heads straight to the saloon. And at 11, he of course heads home and goes back to the ranch. On Sunday, if you've seen Alex's 14 heart events, then on 7 a.m., he will go and stand at the kitchen in Marnie's Ranch. At 10, he will leave the ranch and go to the back room of the Stardrop Saloon. At 3, he'll move to his spot next to the fireplace in the saloon. And then around 12 a.m., he will leave the saloon and head back to Marnie's Ranch. If you haven't seen Alex's 14 heart events, then on Sunday, he will be in the kitchen at Marnie's Ranch by about 12:30. And then about 6 p.m., he'll leave and go to the saloon. And then, of course, at 12 a.m., he will leave the saloon and go back to the ranch. Now, if it's the Green Rain event during year 1, he will be in the kitchen at Marnie's all day. As a little bit of a deviation, if it is winter 15, then at 7 a.m. he will be at Marnie's Ranch. 11 a.m. he'll leave the kitchen to head to his room. 3 p.m. he'll leave Marnie's Ranch to attend the night market. And 11 p.m. he'll leave the night market to return home. For the rest of the year, even depending on which season it is, Shane should have the same schedule roundabout, but if he's off by a couple minutes, that's probably just a seasonal thing. So the approximate schedule that I gave you at the beginning for the different versions of Community Center and Rain and such should still be applicable throughout all the seasons. However, Shane does not leave the farm except on Monday and Friday once you get married, and on Saturday mornings he spends time next to his little chicken coop behind the farmhouse. Shane will also no longer work at Joja Mart even if it is still open. After you're married, his schedule does change a little bit. So on spring 17th, if the bus service is restored, then at 8 a.m. he will walk to the Desert Festival and stand by the chef stand, and at 12:30 a.m. he will board the bus back to the valley. If you happen to be married by the Green Rain event in year 1, then by about 10 after 6 in the morning, he will walk all the way to Marnie's Ranch and stand in the kitchen while he hangs out there for the day. At home, his schedule on Monday is a little different, so at 6 a.m. he's home, and then around 9:30 in the morning he'll be leaving home. At 10:30 he'll arrive at Marnie's Ranch, and at 11:30 he'll be leaving the ranch. And then around 11:50 he will be standing under the big tree north in the Cindersap Forest. By 5 p.m. he will leave the big tree to head home to the farm. 7:30 he arrives at home, and at about 10 p.m. he goes to bed. On Friday at 6 a.m. he is at home, and at 8:30 he will leave home and head for the river in Pelican Town. At 10 a.m. he is standing by the river, and at 1 p.m. he goes ahead and leaves the river to head over to Pierre's. At 5, he leaves Pierre's and goes over to the Stardrop Saloon, and at 10, he leaves the Stardrop Saloon and heads back home. If you've seen Alex's 14 heart events, which you probably haven't if you're married to Shane, but if you have, then at 6 a.m. he's at home. At 8:30, he leaves home and heads for the river in Pelican Town. At 10, he leaves the river and heads to the back room of the Stardrop Saloon. At 3 p.m., he moves to stand in front of the Joja vending machine. And at 8 p.m., he will leave the saloon and head back home. Some trivia about Shane, according to the wiki. Judging by the Mega Station console in Shane's bedroom, he is a gamer. Additionally, it is hooked up to a Cold Sultan XL. When married, he will admit to wishing that he was 6 inches taller, and that is a direct quote. But when you compare his male sprite to the other male sprites in the Flower Dance cutscene, he is relatively shorter, so I guess it does kind of add up. He used to play for his high school varsity's gridball team, as well as Alex. And in Secret Note 7, it is confirmed that he is one of the 3 older bachelors in Pelican Town. Shane's original shirt and his original artwork appears to be based on his Seattle Sounders soccer jersey. Even though he gives you the recipe for a strange bun, it is only a neutral gift to him. Shane hates Joja Cola as a gift, but despite this, he will sometimes say, "Bah, where's the Joja Cola?" And he is often seen surrounded by empty Joja Cola cans and his 14 Hearts event. In addition to all of this information, despite hating the Joja Cola as a gift, a movie theater Joja Cola will be a loved snack if you purchase it for Shane at the movie theater. With all of that being said, that is the complete deep dive on Shane. I hope that you learned something about Shane, and if you're planning on romancing him at all, now you know hopefully where to find him at all times. And I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Bye!